everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Repeat Ron, and today we're going to be doing a build guide for some of the Deep Rock Galactic weapons, including overclocks. Now, I've done some of these before with each of the weapons, not including overclocks, so if anybody isn't to the point where they can get overclocks, then be sure to check those videos out. They'll be linked in the same playlist as these ones. But this is going to be going over some of the builds that I use. So we're going to be talking about the minigun in this video. First, overclock is a little more oomph. This gives you 1 more pellet damage and 0.2 seconds off of your spin up time. So as you can see, you get 11 damage, and then your spin up time is no longer 0.7, it's 0.5. This is just a bonus, so any build that you like running with the minigun should work just fine with this. I don't believe you hit any additional breakpoints by hitting high velocity rounds and variable chamber pressure. If you like taking those, then feel free to. Maybe you can inch your way up to 15 damage, and at that point you would be able to hit certain breakpoints. For this one, at tier 1, I would usually either go with improved motor for the faster rate of fire or improved platform stability. Either of these are really good, whether you want accuracy or even more damage per second. At level 2, I pretty much always go with oversized drum because having another 600 rounds in the minigun is just really nice to have, and it gives you another 300 rounds every time you get a resupply. In tier 3, I usually go with blow through rounds, but sometimes I change it to hardened rounds. Those two are my favorite. Stun is also pretty good too, but I don't use it as much as blow-through rounds or as the hardened rounds. In 4, I usually go with the variable pressure chamber just so that I get more damage. This helps when I'm hitting single targets because at this point the minigun is very accurate, so you can cut down Praetorians very fast. And then I usually go cold as the grave just so that I can shoot the minigun more with this build. This is my basic build for the minigun, and this is what I usually take with a little more oomph. Sometimes, like I said, I switch this around or switch this around or switch one of these around. It's really your call as to what you feel like you need. Next overclock is the thin drum walls. This one I really keep the same way. This just gives you half a second faster cool rate and 300 additional ammo. So that kind of looks like this. Again, I usually still go with the more ammo here just so that I can get even more ammo from resupplies. The rest of it I keep exactly the same. You could switch over to damage here because you're getting not as much value as going with the tier 2, but you're still getting a decent amount of value out of it. So if you favor the damage over the extra ammunition, you can do that. Now we get on to some of the other overclocks that are a little bit different. With Burning Hell first, Burning Hell makes it so you do fire damage at the front of your gun, but you can overheat faster. Now there's 2 ways to go about using Burning Hell, at least that I found. And that's either trying to mitigate the overheating effect as much as possible, which is honestly really difficult to do and what I wouldn't recommend. The other one is just to embrace that your gun is going to overheat and be fine with that. For tier 1, again, I usually go with either improved motor or improved stability platform. Either way, you can use it the same. I don't go with the cooling here simply because I don't feel like it gives you as much benefit as these other two. And if I'm going to overheat my gun, I am okay with waiting the duration of it out. The rest of these I mostly keep the same, except for on tier 5. On tier 5, Cold as the Grave sounds like a good idea because it will allow you to not heat up your gun as fast so that you can keep shooting it. And that sounds like a good idea, but whenever I've practiced it, it really doesn't work out as well as you would think. Either hot bullets or aggressive venting I find to be more useful. Aggressive venting is generally safer because you can still keep applying your fire damage, but once you get to the point of overheating your gun, you're pretty much going to fear all enemies in the nearby area, so they will run away from you, which gives you plenty of time to switch to your secondary or switch to your shield, or just leave the area so that you can wait for your minigun to cool down. That is a pretty good strategy with the Burning Hell. Or you go with hot bullets and simply embrace more of the fire. You'll be doing more damage per second with this than you would with any of the other tier 5s, but you're not going to get something like the fear effect from the aggressive venting. You still can use a fear effect to some extent with something like the sticky grenades, so sometimes I do run that with this just so that I can fear enemies. Cluster bombs also work really well, and of course incendiary bombs also work really well with this, so it's perfectly fine. A good combination with Burning Hell is the revolver using the volatile bullets, because you're very likely to catch just about anything on fire. You can also run it with the incendiary grenades, and then you're doing, I think it's 3 or 4 times damage with the revolver. Our next balanced overclock is Compact Feed Mechanism. This gives you more ammunition for the cost of rate of fire. Now for this one, I usually just go with the rate of fire at level 1, just so that I can cancel out the other rate of fire, but even so, it's not entirely necessary, because cutting down the rate of fire on the minigun isn't that big a deal. You still shoot it fairly fast. I do go with extra ammunition here because just having 3,800 rounds of the minigun is really awesome. You get to shoot it for such a long time, and every time you get a resupply, you get a lot of bullets back from it. The rest of the build, I usually keep the same, just the usual stuff like this. This one works really well with any of the secondaries. This one I found can work pretty well with any of the secondaries that reduce the amount of ammo that you get. I don't remember if the burst pistol has anything like that, but the revolver does in the elephant rounds. So if you want to just go full damage elephant rounds, this is a pretty good build for taking that. I usually don't go full damage elephant rounds in the Bulldog. I usually go kind of a mix of bullets and damage, so it's not as big a concern to me. And then our last balanced overclock is exhaust factoring. This one, as people have pointed out to me, if you take the tier 1, then you're pretty much good. You do have to kind of forfeit your tier 1 here for the improved platform stability, but it's already a really good perk anyway. You still get a bonus from this, but you still get to keep your bonus damage. For this one, you can go with high velocity rounds and easily hit 15 damage with this. Again, blow through rounds or hardened rounds works really well here. And then I usually go cold as the grave just so that I can keep shooting the minigun. This one works really well with pretty much any of the secondaries. So use the burst pistol, use the revolver. Either one works, and same with any of their overclocks. Next we have bullet hell, and this one is probably the weakest overclock for the minigun. It's honestly not all that great, but it is super fun to play around with. And I'm still not entirely sure what is the most effective way to use this one, because I've tried it with both the improved rate of fire, just spraying like crazy and only really using this as either a complete guessing game as to if my bullets are going to hit, or trying to just use this at very close range. For anybody unaware, bullet hell makes it so you have a 75% chance of any of your bullets bouncing off the terrain into another enemy, but you lose out on 3 damage and you get 6 times the base spread. So your gun is very inaccurate and it does less damage, which is 2 major downsides to the minigun, since the minigun can get pretty accurate and it does do good damage per second. This does nerf it a bit. So that's why I'm not really sure if improved motor is better or if the improved stability platform is better. Improved stability platform still makes it so you can shoot at medium range, and I have been taking this one more often whenever I've used this one, just so that my range doesn't completely die. I usually take more ammo with this just because we might as well embrace the amount of ammo that we got. We're already doing lower damage. Increasing it up to 9 doesn't really help all that much. So more ammunition is just going to be more useful. I usually go with stun on this one over armor breaking rounds or the blow through rounds, just because the higher stun chance does help out the team. So you have more of a chance of stunning enemies. The armor breaking can kind of help too, but blow through rounds is not very consistent with this build. Just because, you can shoot through an enemy, hit the ground, and then bounce it into another enemy, but it is a little bit difficult to actually hit the enemy in the first place with this build. Honestly, at tier 4, I'm not sure which of these is best. I usually go with either the spin-up time or the magnetic bearings to give me the maximum stability. And then on tier 5, I usually just go with hot bullets here, but you could also go with aggressive venting or even cold as the grave. It's just cold as the grave may or may not trigger, so it's just kind of a guessing game. I find that hot bullets at least is the most useful because you can light enemies on fire. So this one's more of a status affecting build. That's pretty much what I go for with this one, and I found that it's worked out probably the best with this build, but it still never worked out incredibly great. I wouldn't really take this one into like Hazard 5. It's just way too inconsistent. I have used it on Hazard 4 quite a bit, but it still wasn't super useful. As a secondary, I would recommend something with a lot of bullets just so that you can actually hit enemies and at least kill crowds. Or if you want to go the opposite and really leave it to chance, you could go high damage and just use your secondary against large enemies. You can do that with the increased damage but increased spread burst pistol. You could also go with the micro flechette burst pistol if you want to go with a full stunning build and just be pretty much supportive as gunner. And our last overclock for the minigun is the Leadstorm. Leadstorm gives you 4 more damage per bullet, but it reduces your movement speed to 0 when using the gun, and you also lose out on stun chance as well as stun duration. The loss in stun duration and stun chance honestly doesn't matter too much because you're just making your weapon to a very specialized gun for killing single target enemies. This one I usually build pretty much the same that I always do. So either improved platform stability or improved rate of fire. Either one works fine. More ammunition. This one I always take because variable pressure chamber, again, will get up to 15 damage so we can hit some nice breakpoints. And then I usually go with armor breaking with this one, although blow through rounds is still really good. but armor breaking is even better against enemies that do have armor, so you can just keep firing that. And if you can't move effectively around an area, it's not a big deal to just be shooting something like a Praetorian directly in the face, or a guard directly in the face. And then again, I go with Cold as the Grave just so that I can use the weapon more, although the other two tier 5s work really well with this too. So these are pretty much all my builds for the minigun. This one works well with really any of the secondary stuff. If you want to go high damage, you can. If you want to go utility, you can. I think I usually use magic bullets with a revolver with this, and that works out just fine too. That way I kind of got an AoE weapon in the revolver, as well as a single target weapon with the minigun. So if you guys enjoyed this one and you'd like to see more of this, be sure that you're subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post these. If you'd like to support the channel further, and if you'd like access to early videos, you can either go over to my Patreon and pledge any amount over there, or you can become a member over here on YouTube. That'll give you access to extra videos as well as a few extra perks. Thanks everybody who does that, and special thanks to all the supporters of the channel. I really do appreciate that. If you'd like to see more of my Deep Rock videos, be sure to click on this playlist right over here. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!